Good morning. We're still alive. Sometimes the energies are so intense we just wonder, where shall we begin? So I titled this video, or this live, as Who's Deep Inside You Ready to Come Out? How to describe it? So I'll speak from my example. So there's things inside of me that are calling in a new world, let's call it that way. For those of you that know me, I teach a lot about using sexuality as an awakening tool. And there's times in the last, 8 years of my life where I tried to step forth and step into that role and to lead in that way and do the stuff in my soul that I felt was important. And holy crap, I crashed and burned. I was accelerating beautifully, and how to describe it? There's people in my world that didn't like what I was doing. It went directly against their trauma and other things, and they did everything in their power to, how would you call it? To trash me, basically. And it revealed in me there was some confidence issues. There was a whole bunch of my own traumas that were present, and went into some of the deepest, darkest. I repressed all that stuff. I stepped away. I probably even made some vows not to do it anymore because it was utterly insane trying to negotiate through all those projected traumas and then having to look at my own at the same time. I didn't even know who I was. It was a complete and total mess. So I worked through that, and I'll describe that in a minute, but I'm going back even further into my life, into how I grew up, into other things. And when I was a child, my dad worked in the oil industry, and it was kind of like a military family that I hear a lot of people talk about, is that you move every 8 months to 2 years, and you've had so many homes, and none of them were really home. You never really had to set a place that you could set a good foundation for yourself. So I grew up with that. No friends, etc., because you're moving all the time. And my mother had some depression and other things that affected all of us as a family, and it went into my beliefs and went into a whole bunch of stuff, and I had some massive self-worth issues and other things that were not allowing me to shine, and actually in a lot of ways it made me want to hide, and I didn't want to be seen unconsciously. It's crazy how these things happen, and we build up these shells, these shields to protect us so that we're not seen. And I can speak to my own. It's like I didn't want to be seen by women, so I got overweight and put belly fat on and thought I was fat, and other things. The other shields, it's like I wouldn't go out in social circumstances. I didn't want to date. I didn't want to get out and really shine. And those things stuck with me all the way. I probably developed them, I think it was 8 years old when I started to grow and put on weight, and my mother was horrified. She put me on Weight Watchers and all these other wonderful things that even didn't help either. But I started to think small and be small and didn't want to shine my light anymore, and it shifted my whole life. So where in your world did that stuff happen? Thank you, Leni. Yeah, I think this is common for a lot of people, where we started to hide. We started to judge ourselves as ugly, as not worthy, as whatever, and then we started to play small, and we slowly continued to die from there, and basically those beliefs, those feelings, those energies continue to propagate, and they're showing up our whole life. And now as we're awakening, we don't even know what that small boy part of us wants anymore. My dreams were crushed. I don't know, 10 years ago I thought I had the cat's ass. I was an engineer making good money, had all the stuff, the toys, the family, the kids, the house, the trailers, the vehicles, etc. And I was so unhappy. It was just a bunch of payments and a treadmill. So somewhere in the middle of that, we still have a part of us that wants to dream and fly and be unconditional in love and to share our knowledge and all this kind of, what do you want to call it? Clairsentient knowledge, claircognizant knowledge that's coming through to us from our past lives and was activated at this time. We're now being asked to step into a role that was much bigger, and it's probably in alignment with the thing that we got smashed about over before. But when I got smashed by all those people talking against me and making claims that weren't true, etc., a little part of me died and shrunk and went back into those same self-loathing methods. And I'm sure this has probably happened to you guys as well. But in going through that, I was crushed. I was laying in bed, terrified that somebody's going to come kill me at my door for some past life reason that I didn't understand. But I started to analyze everything that I'd done, and I started to realize that the stuff that I did required so much integrity, so much advanced discussion, and everything was followed to the letter. And I learned to come out from under the rock and realize that the people that were making claims against me were actually wounded people that weren't willing to deal with their own stuff directly. They ended up speaking through another person so that they could try and heal in this most demented way. And I didn't have to participate with it. And I learned that to fight it wasn't possible. The people either really trusted me and understood, or they sided with the other people and they were just as wounded. And it's crazy. These are the leaders of our communities, of alternate communities, Tantra leaders and stuff. And I couldn't even deal with the energies that were coming back at me because they weren't even mine. It's crazy how people will project through others to avoid doing their own work. And I participated in it, but I learned so much about myself. I learned about my integrity. I learned about my self-worth, what was important to me, how I followed through with everything, and how I had to stand up for myself. And agreements that included me and my parts in these things, I had to honor those and make sure that my needs were met and in the agreements that I made with others. And it was so crazy to see that little Paul in the moment asking for what was agreed and then feeling ashamed about it. And then that shame went into the situation and it twisted everything. But the shame came from far before that. So right now we're going through this phase of cleaning up all that stuff, going and looking at it and saying, okay, why did I agree to that? Why did that feel so awful? Why was this so uncomfortable? Why did that even exist? And some really clear answers start to come out. And then that part that was pushed into the corner, that was pushed into the box, that went way down deep, that was scared shitless, is starting to come forward and saying, okay, well, I'm still here. I'm not gone. Are you ready? So what part of you is ready to step up? Me, it's being a leader and doing these lives and starting to just speak openly about things like sexuality and other things that are so, so important to our health, to our body's health, to our pleasure, to feeling worthy, other things, to get back in a place where there's no shame or guilt and getting our birth rate back of purity and innocence in our pleasure, in our playfulness, etc. And yeah, I know that makes some people feel uncomfortable, but they're not ready for me. If it makes you feel uncomfortable to talk about that stuff, then I'm sorry. And I don't really want to apologize, but that's your journey. Eventually, everybody's going to come back to the point where they're going to realize that that's part of being human, part of having a body, part of all these things, and to repress yourself from it, to be shameful about it, to not want to connect with others around it, and to force it to be behind locked in things like marriages and stuff that just slowly erode people, and they stop being themselves to try and love another. And it's not my energy. It's not the way it's meant to be. And if you don't agree, well, fuck you, because it's my truth. And if you can't handle that, then it's okay. It's all good. But I've been beaten so senselessly over these matters and these discussions, and I'm not ashamed about it anymore. And that's why I'm unapologetic about it. And I'm going to tell you right here and right now, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's probably exactly where you need to look, because discomfort areas are areas we've repressed, and you know there's something wrong. So that's the piece of me that's rising up. That's the piece of me that's talking unapologetically in these lives. I have a group called Awakening Through Sexuality where we talk even more openly about the sexual side of things, and I love it. It makes me feel free, it makes me feel alive, and it's what my mission is in a lot of ways in this world. So I'll do a live soon about the healing work that I do almost weekly with people, and it includes parts of our sexual bodies, and it is the most magnificent healing, body opening experience that you can ever have. And to start to understand what our body is all about, it's about bliss and pleasure and feeling good, not this repressed discontent, angriness. So that's mine. What's yours? If you want to talk about it, put it in the notes underneath. If you want to share with other people, put a live out about it. Copy me in so that I can see it. And I want to see everybody shine with that thing that's deep down, and it's scary and it's challenging and it makes you feel alive. So, what's yours? I love you very much. I'd love to hear about it. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all.